What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to ICNVDriversedition, and you see it in the thumbnails. Today's conversation, and I know it, so many people have come out and said it. They've warned me, and what you say, the Range Rover is going to break down. Don't buy the Range Rover. So today, let's talk about it. So the last time we left off with a video about the truck, I was actually driving it day one, telling you why I was so enthusiastic about owning it and all the stuff that was going on with it. And yeah, I was on my way to see my man Chuck to throw the vehicle on the scanner, which just happened to work out perfectly, I guess. And the reason why I sit there and say that is because I got to playing with a Audi SQ5 on the highway, or should I say the expressway in the Chicagoland area, and a BMW, and long before I knew it, the check engine light came on. But it was how the check engine light came on that kind of sparked my interest, meaning coming through one of the nice little turns in the Chicago Loop, it's like I felt like a little slight jerk, and the check engine light popped on as I was accelerating through the turn. So now, as I'm en route to my man Chuck, I'm like, what the, HE double hockey sticks, you know how that go. So it caught me by surprise. The reason why it caught me by surprise, because up until that point, I'm saying about this time, I got about maybe 1,400 miles on the truck since I purchased it. I haven't had any issues, any signs, or anything that would say or make me feel like something was wrong with the vehicle. And then all of a sudden, just after getting on the car a little bit, getting off the expressway and making a turn, like I said, making a turn and accelerating through it, I feel a slight jerk and the check engine light comes on. So now I'm like mind boggled. So ultimately, like I said, I had everything already set in place, so I go see my man Chuck. Now, what I will sit there and say to you is when I finally got to meet up with Chuck, and I explained to him what happened and how the light came on and so forth, and I was feeling a little guilty about beating on the vehicle before it took place, he kind of reassured me very quickly by sitting there saying that, hey, that's what the vehicle is meant to do. So if it breaks on something like that, you need to get it fixed, you need to get it repaired, because that's what it's supposed to do. And just hearing him say that put my mind at ease, because he's right. I bought a vehicle that can perform. I bought a vehicle that has high horsepower so I can get on it. And if it can't handle me doing what it was designed or built to do, then that's a much bigger issue than the fact that I was getting on it in a short stint and it broke down. When I get to Chuck, there are several codes in the car, which, just being fully transparent, many of the codes in the car were over a year old, meaning that there was a running board light in there, there was a couple errors for the radio, there were an airbag error and some other things that popped up, but they all were like, how can I say, not dormant, but they happened and went away. And then now I have this recent one, which is inside the system, and it looks more like a misfire. So as I'm looking at the code reader or the scanner with Chuck, and we really wasn't trying to dive too deep into the diagnosis of the vehicle, but what we did see was there was something that was looking like a misfire happening off the engine off bank 7. So of course I'm like, what's your thoughts? What you want to think we should do with it? And he was like, look, I really can't tell you. It could be a vacuum leak. It could be a pressure leak. He just started running down the things that it possibly could be. Like there was no one true answer to why I was getting this. And without starting to do some really, as he says, some hard troubleshooting and taking some stuff apart and doing some pressure tests and so forth, he couldn't give me a quick answer. And I'm like, man, you want to dive into this? And he's like, nah, man, you got a warranty. Take that thing to the dealership, let them do what they do, and let them fix it, because you got a warranty and it's covered. And that's the funny part about it, because I don't know if I shared this with you guys, but part of the biggest thing with me owning this car was my thought process, my push to own this car was, I literally wanted to own this car for 2 years without a warranty, just so I can share with you guys the up and down and tell you that, or should I could say showcase to you guys, if you go out and do your research on Range Rovers, you can truly find a solid vehicle to own. And because after all the research I did on this car, I felt like it should be a solid vehicle to own, I was willing to take that risk of owning this car without a warranty. And my plan was, the minute it cost me more than $15,000 in repairs or 2 years to unload it, unless I just found something else that caught my interest. So now I'm 26 hours into owning it with my man Chuck, talking about possible scenarios or options of what it could be that's wrong with this car. But like I said, my goal was to own this car without a warranty. So how I end up with a warranty was, majority of the SV Autobiographies I looked at, the dealerships that had them, the warranties ranged anywhere between $4,800 and $12,000. And you heard me correctly, $4,800 to $12,000. A lot of locations said 7 to 11. I still did my research, and in the back of my mind, I kept inquiring about a warranty. So I reached out to Range Rover, and what Range Rover told me, or should I say Land Rover, and what they gave me was an option to bring whatever vehicle I purchased in for an inspection. The inspection would cost me $595 or $495, depending on the location. Once I brought the vehicle in for an inspection, they would put it through an inspection to tell me if I qualified for a 4-year, 50,000 mile warranty with a $100 deductible. That warranty would cost me $59.95. Technically, when you add on the cost, it's more like $64.95 because I had to put the inspection on. If the car failed the warranty, or should I say, if the car failed the inspection, what would end up taking place then is I would be able to purchase a 3-year, 36,000 mile warranty for $59.95 with a $200 deductible. So the $595 warranty, or should I say inspection, was me playing, or I guess rolling the dice, saying, hey, will I have an extra year with a $100 deductible, or will I be paying a year shorter with a $200 deductible? So now when I'm out shopping for Range Rovers, in the back of my mind, I know at worst case scenario what I could pay for a warranty. When I reached out about this truck, of course, I always ask, what is the cost of a warranty with the vehicle? They were offering at $67.95. I could get a 3.5-year warranty, meaning 42 months with 40,000 miles for $6,700 with a $100 deductible. It wasn't a bad option, but in my case, and I'll just be fully transparent with you, the 4-year 50 did kind of seem like an option I would probably want to consider. So to me, using that bit of information allowed me to chase a warranty, because I ultimately asked the location, hey, can you take the vehicle to a Land Rover dealership? They will inspect it for $595. I will pay for it. Depending on the results, I can now get a warranty for $59.95 for 4 years, 50,000 miles. Well, to counter that, they offer me their warranty for 42 months, $100 deductible, for $64.95. And like I explained to them, the possibility of getting a extra year and 12,000 more miles just made more sense for me. So unfortunately, I couldn't take or chase the opportunity they were giving me. So to prevent me from exploring that other option, they finally came back and said, you know what? We'll sell you our warranty, which was 42 months, 40,000 miles, with a $100 deductible for $59,995. Now, being transparent, like I explained before, I really was going back and forth about the whole purchasing the warranty anyway. But I was strongly debating taking the car to get inspected just so I can see what I was getting into. But because they came back with that offer and everybody kept saying, get the warranty, get the warranty. You don't want to own this truck without the warranty. I kind of let peer pressure me into buying a warranty and going against my own goodwill or my own train of thought or my own judgment. So that's how I ended up with a warranty. Now, because of that, I guess you can say 24 hours in, I should be happy I have a warranty. And now that when I take this to the dealership, unlike before where I was willing to spend $15,000 in repairs on making content on a Range Rover, I now don't have to take that type of hit. So ultimately, what I need to share with you guys is I really got rid of Zeus on Halloween. This new Range Rover has actually been inside my possession since Halloween. When the car actually broke down, or should I say the check engine light came on, it was November 1st. I still had to head out of town to SEMA. I literally took the Range Rover in and dropped it off the morning I flew out to SEMA. It was a tight morning, but I dropped it off, got the car into them. They told me they couldn't look at it right away. It'd probably be a day, maybe two, before they could actually get to it, which I didn't really care because I was going out of town for SEMA anyway. So when I arrived at the Range Rover dealership on Monday morning and I got ready to drop the car off, because of all the information I have, of course, I'm trying to overshare, like, yeah, you know, I put a scanner tool on it. It looked like there's a misfire on bank 7. There was an error code on the radio. Can you check speaker 15 because it says speaker 15 might be possibly blown? Can you do? So I'm running down a list of stuff that actually came off my man Chuck's scanner. And they're like, and I know they want to say, calm down, Kimosabi. Look, we'll check these items out. Just tell us what you think is wrong or what you've seen, and we'll do our own little investigation because we have to do our own troubleshooting, which I understand. But I did explain to him the same thing I explained to Chuck. Is like, look, I was getting on the car, came off the expressway because, look, it's my car. I can be fully transparent. I'm a grown-up. I don't care how it plays out. You can't tell me that I paid all this money for a vehicle to perform and you can't expect me to try to make it perform or tap into that performance. So like I told him, I said, look, I was playing with the car on the highway with a couple other fast vehicles and made a turn. I felt this and this took place. So again, I like the fact that the service advisor turned around and sat there and said, well, it is a Range Rover SV Autobiography. It does push out 557 horsepower. So you should be able to expect to use that performance when and whenever you want to get it. So the fact that you were doing that shouldn't mean the car should break. Again, hearing somebody else say that just made me feel more secure with what this Range Rover is capable of and the fact that I shouldn't expect anything less. And I think that's what stood out to me the most. But like I said, I was heading out of town to SEMA, so they couldn't get to it right away. They told me they would give me a call in a day or two because it probably would be 24 to 48 hours before they can truly dive into it or devote somebody to it because they had prior appointments they need to address first. And that was perfectly fine with me because one of the reasons I was happy it did what it did when it did it was I was going to be out of town for SEMA for a week, and then the week after I had somewhere else to go. So in my mind, I'm just like, fix the car before I get home. That's all I'm asking. So with that being said, I dropped the Range Rover off on November 3rd. I didn't hear anything about the vehicle or the repairs or what was wrong with it until November 5th. And when they called me on November 5th, what was shared with me was part of the issue with the car was due to an open recall that had not been performed. So they were taking care of that free, no charge. The biggest issue with the car and why the check engine light came on, the repair required a new Cadillac converter to be put on, some sensors to be changed out. They gave me a list of things, but ultimately none of it was a charge to me because it was part of an open recall and a warranty item on the vehicle from factory. So technically, I still didn't use that warranty that I purchased because all the repairs were covered. But what I will do with you is, if you give me a moment, I will go over what they actually fixed, the actual cost it would have cost me if I had to pay for it, just so I can share that information with you, because getting the receipt from the bill of this vehicle, I understand why a lot of people try to avoid it, especially on the magnitude this high, because the repair cost is kind of pricey. So let's go over this invoice real quick. And of course, there was no charge for any of the services, so I will show you that. But I will explain to you what actually took place. From my understanding, looking at the invoice, there was an open recall that was, I guess, recall function number N881, which was a PCM update they had to perform. And the work that was done was covered up under the Cadillac converter, because the Cadillac converter technically is still up under warranty. Although the vehicle is, 7 years old at this point, the Cadillac converter is covered up under the factory warranty, which I had to learn that because I'm guessing the Cadillac converter is covered for 8 years and we're just in year 6, or technically 7, because the vehicle came out in 2018. So let's run down the prices if I had to pay for this out of pocket. So the diagnostic, if I did not get the work done, was $249. But because I did get the work performed and it was included, although like I said, I didn't pay for it, the charge for that would have been $49, which is kind of interesting. But whatever, they got to charge you something. From there, we get the Cadillac converter labor cost, and they charge $404 for the labor. To the Cadillac converter left side renew, the Cadillac converter itself was $1,769. So they were charging $1,700 for the Cadillac converter. They replaced the sensor that was also $381, and the clamp for the exhaust was a whopping $46.19. They didn't replace any studs. I guess they reused the old studs. To perform the leak test to make sure everything was working as intended, the smoke leak test was $124. They charged me $62 to clear all the fault codes, which, I could have did that myself. And then to verify that the error was gone and the shifting issue, like I told you, I was going through the turn, I heard like a funky shift. To verify that was gone, they charged me a whopping $207 to just do an inspection on it, and $41.48 to drive it around for 5 miles to make sure it didn't do it again. Yes, you heard me correct. They charged me $41 to drive the car 5 miles to make sure, and they could take it through a couple turns and accelerate through turns and so forth to make sure the car wasn't on again. Now, mind you, I didn't pay for any of this because my stuff says no charge, no charge, no charge, and it was $0. But that's what actually took place. Now, walking away from this, they did recommend I take care of 4 things, which I probably will do shortly. They recommend a wheel alignment, a 4-wheel wheel alignment, $299.95, a fuel induction system, $515.65, and they recommended I do a brake flush, which they're also charging $292.16. So I'm going to probably get this stuff taken care of right away. Oh, yeah, and then I'm sorry, I almost forgot. The 4x4 service, which is a whopping $750, $749.60. These are the recommended items they think I should do coming up soon. So when I take the car in shortly before I put the wheels on it, yes, I do have wheels coming from the Range Rover. You know me, I had to customize some and get them ordered and shipped out. So the reveal is coming. Stay tuned for that. But before I put the wheels on, I'm definitely going to get the 4x4 serviced and the wheel alignment completed. So I may make another video about that and probably get that done within the next 30 to 60 days. But that's what it cost me, or should I say not cost me, but that was what was wrong with my Range Rover. And again, if you look at all these extra servicing charges, they're not much different than you would get on a Cadillac Escalade. And despite that $1,769 number, I feel like everything else or part of the charges was really not too intimidating. Maybe they could have went down the labor from 404 to, I would say, 350, 325. And I'm sure if I would have negotiated or had a conversation about, I just feel like that was too much, I'll take it to another location, they probably would have worked with me on the labor costs. But like I said, that's what it would have cost to fix a repaired Range Rover. And I can understand why some people are concerned. When you look at catalytic converters on other vehicles, or should I say other luxury SUVs, this is where they fall. That is some pretty hefty dollars, but the Range Rover isn't that far off. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. ICNV Driver Edition. Go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, join the ICNV Driver Edition community. We have more interesting content like this coming your way. You don't want to miss out, so go ahead and lock into the channel. Just remember to embrace your gifts, step into your calling, and become the blessing to the world and the unique individual that you were meant to be. May God continue to send blessings your way and keep you surrounded by those that love you. Just remember to stay humble, stay focused, and stay blessed. And I'll see you in these streets. Peace.